Stay tuned for Wrestling with Computers, where we continue our conversation about internet safety. So go get yourself a pencil and a piece of paper, because we're off to the world of technology. Welcome to Wrestling with Computers. I'm Wrestling Brewster from Brewster PC Solutions, and we're here to talk about child safety on the internet. It's a huge, huge issue. Last time we had Dr. Maestes here talking about the school system and what he sees as one of the major threats. One of the biggest things that we have a problem with is being parents and finding a way to monitor or to restrict our use of our children's access to computers and to the internet. 48% of students K through first grade level interact with people on the website every day. 63% of teens said they know how to hide this information, what they've been online, how they've been acting online from their parents. And 11% have unlocked or disabled some of the restrictions that their parents have put on them. 51% of parents don't have or don't know if they have programs to track where their teens are going online. 42% of parents do not review content of that teen chats, and 95% of parents don't know the chat room jargon that teens use to warn others about their parents being in the room. Just so you know, POS means parents over shoulder, and P911 means parent alert. Watch what you say. So we have a lot of stuff going on out there that our children know about that we don't know about, that we have problems with, that we need to get a grasp on. One of my biggest things is this is where you really need to be a parent, where you really need to know what your child's getting into. You need to have the conversation about child bullying, online bullying and threats that are out there. It is a lot of, it's not you, it's the other people out there that you're going to have to talk about, but you're going to have these conversations. My 9-year-old asks me every day why he can't go to a certain website, why it's restricted, why he can't go to YouTube on his own, why I have to look at every YouTube site he goes to. The threats out there are just coming in at amazing rates. The internet is huge. Like Dr. Maestes said last week, it's like turning on the television and having access to every single channel. Every single channel is going to be out there, so you're going to be able to get to it. So if you're watching a show with your child and something inappropriate comes on, you're there and you say, oh, we can't watch this, we'll have to watch something else. But when it comes to the internet, 90% of our parents, 90% of the parents out there aren't doing a good job. I'm sorry to say it, but it's time. It's time we as a society and we and parents have to take the reins on this, because there's a lot of stuff out there and it's a very bad, bad, bad world. Number one is having that conversation with your children, making sure they know that there are threats out there, that there are going to be restrictions, that it's a very bad and vicious world out there. If you don't do this, your children are going to get out there and they're going to be blind. They're going to go out there and they're going to start going to sites and they're going to start seeing inappropriate stuff. 50% of the polled kids, teens out there were said that they were on the web unrestricted and saw content that made them uncomfortable. So they are out there. They're seeing these things. You have to take control. So number one is have that conversation. Sit down with your children and say, there's some very bad things out there. This is why you have to have it restricted. Now, one of the next things you have to do is you have to have that computer in a common room. You have to have it in a room where everybody has access to, where you can watch your child on the internet. You have to do this. You cannot have it in the room. If you have it in their bedroom or the locked door with internet access, it's giving them keys to the world. And they're not ready to have those keys to the world. If they have those keys to the world, they're not going to know how to use them. They're not going to know what this content is, and they're not going to be able to process it. You need to be the parent here. You need to have it in a common room, and you need to sit down and you need to go online with your child. You need to say, well, this is appropriate, this isn't appropriate. A lot of sites look innocuous. They look like they wouldn't hurt a fly. But then when you get there, it has really bad content on it. Misspelling of words, going to a site. There was a site a long time ago that if you went to www.whitehouse.com, it was a bad site. But if you went to www.gov.com, you get to the White House. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to discuss with your child. And it's a great opportunity to go online and have it as a learning experience. If you look at it as a learning experience with your child, instead of you sitting there regulating one more thing that they have to do, then it'll be much better. If you get online and you're sitting beside them as they're going to those sites, going to those gaming sites and saying, wow, that's kind of vicious. That's kind of really not good. That's kind of violent. You can discuss these things. It's a conversation. One of the next things you want to do is you want to have your computer that you control. This computer that's in the common room, you have to be in control of it. So what you have to be is you have to have passwords to get on your computer, on your family computer. You have to be the administrator. When you set up a computer, you can set up each user as an administrator or a user. The administrator have all the rights to add, restrict, delete, install. A user has to ask permission to do that. You want to have some administrative rights here. You want to be able to tell your kid, no, you can't do that. Yes, you can do this. You have to have these restrictions, because if you don't have those restrictions, then what's going to happen is you're going to end up having your kid seeing things that he shouldn't. The statistics show how much stuff out there that is really bad. You have all these predators out there that are looking for your kids. They go into chat rooms, and when they're going to chat rooms, they're looking for kids your kid's age. They're looking to entice them to go places that they shouldn't go and see things that they shouldn't see. Besides all that, the internet is huge. There's sales on everything. So when your child goes on there, my kid is on the internet a lot. It's very restricted. He has a restricted amount of time, but he's on there a lot. So when he's on there and he's going from site to site, an ad pops up. Dad, I've got to have this. Dad, I've got to have that. Think of it with no restrictions. He's not going to say, Dad, I got to have this. I saw it on the internet. He's going to say, Dad, look what came in the mail that I bought because I had your credit card and I went online. There's no restrictions, so you don't know what's going on. You really have to start getting to know what's going on. You have to be involved with your kids as they're online, because it's vicious out there. And you have to be there. You have to monitor the situation, and you have to be on top of it all the time. So you've got it in a common room. You're monitoring what's going on. You've had the conversation. So your child knows what's going on. He knows that there is time restrictions. You have restrictions for the television. You say you can't watch 8 hours of television a day, but a lot of people don't have any restrictions on the time limit for computer, for internet time. Because one of my big things about the internet, if you can go out, they can come in. There's always someone watching on there. And you want to be the one who's restricting this with your kids. Restrict is a really kind of the wrong word. You want to make it so that they have an enjoyable time on the internet, that they see the things that it's appropriate for them, because you're the parent here. So once you get all that stuff down, there are software. One of the major software that was voted #1, NetNanny. If you go to netnanny.com, you can download this software. I think it's about $40. But this software is going to let you monitor where your children are going online. It's going to take a little bit, but it's a great piece of software. I have it in my house. My son comes up to me every day asking the question, why was this site blocked? Why was that site blocked? I want to go here, and that darn software you put in restricted me. So when that happens, it opens up the conversation. I say to my son, well, let's look at that site. Well, the reason it's blocked is because it has violence on it. It has something that's not appropriate. And that opens up the next conversation to say, well, I don't want you to see something violent. There's enough violence in the world that you don't want to see. And I want you to have an enjoyable time. So you put this software on there. You're going to have to do some work here. This piece of software emails me anytime Noah tries to go to a site that isn't appropriate. He has a little button will pop up and say to him, you can't go to this site. It's restricted. So he has the option underneath to say, request permission to go on or move on. Okay, I can't go to that site. So he can push that button and email me and say, your son tried to go to this site. This is the reason it's not appropriate. What do you want to do? It also has monitoring capabilities for the social sites like chat rooms and Facebook. So you're going to have to go on there every once in a while and say, all right, what did my son talk about today? A lot of parents say, that's kind of like Big Brother. Well, there's a big brother that you can be. There's a huge big brother that everybody else on the internet is. Once you put something on the internet, it's broadcast everywhere. And when I say everywhere, I mean internationally. So if there's some predator somewhere lurking in the background and your kid puts something in a chat room saying, hey, I live in Plymouth and I like movies. Well, that guy goes on there, he can be anyone. The anonymity of the internet is a blank slate. You can be anyone you want to be. You can be a 12-year-old and actually be 70. You can be a 70-year-old and actually be 12. So once you go on there, there's all kinds of laws from the state that says that website can't ask questions about age, website has to secure inappropriate material. Well, once you're out there and you manipulate the system, because our kids know more than we do about the internet. Once that happens and you're out there, then you can get anywhere. You manipulate the system and get something that says that you put in your birth date and makes you 25, you can go anywhere. You can buy anything, you can see anything. That's a very, very scary atmosphere for a parent to think about. You continually have to be a parent here. You cannot let your kid have carte blanche on the internet because that is huge. It means that you can go anywhere you want at any time. All right, so basically we've got it so that we have it in the common room. We have locked it down so that we are the administrator, and we've put this software on. Now, this software is going to be going 24/7, so anytime that your child is on there, it reports back to you. You have to look at those logs. You have to check them out and say, wow, after I went to bed, he came down and used the internet from 11 o'clock till 1 o'clock in the morning. That's concerning. You need to monitor these things so that you can come back and say, all right, we need to have another conversation. Remember all those threats that I told you about, that we talked about, that we went over, that you said you understood? Those threats are real. You're going on unattended at an hour that I said you weren't supposed to. You have to have these conversations. They're tough conversations. I have a conversation with my son almost every day, it seems, about why it's inappropriate. And I have to bring up the sexual content. And that's a huge conversation for a little guy like my son. But you have to have it, because if you don't have it, he's going to see it and he's not going to understand it, because he can go anywhere on the internet without any restrictions, without you being a parent. If you're not going to be that parent, he's going to go anywhere he wants and see anything he wants. So you don't want to go there. If you start seeing something online that you don't like, there's a cyber tip line. And the website for that is www.cybertiptime.com. Or there's a 1-800 number, 1-800-843-5678. You report that to them, and they can do something about it. They will track down the site. They can shut down the site. They can take care of it. So you want to be monitoring it. You want to be on the web. You want to sit down with your kid. You want to sit beside him or her as you're going through the websites and say, oh, do you see how that could have been inappropriate? Now, something that we went over with Dr. Maestes last week was cyberbullying. Well, you want to be on both sides of this. If your child is on the internet and gets cyberbullied, or if your child is cyberbullying, you want to know about it. So if you're taking this proactive approach and you're sitting beside your child on the internet, you're having a conversation about the internet. The internet is in a common room, so he or she can't go to a site without somebody walking by and go, ooh, that's not appropriate. You're going to know about these things. You're going to get a heads up on these things so that you can have another conversation. One of the things I have to take technology out of it on the side of the parents that I've been noticing that as the internet is becoming more and more in your face and more children are going on the internet, we as parents have missed the boat. We're sitting there going, wow, that's awful. He's on there for 12 hours a day. I wonder where he's going. And we're saying, wow, you know, I have no idea how to use the internet. I don't even know what Facebook is. And this IMing thing and all the other things that are in my face, I have no idea about it. It's our responsibility as parents to find out about it. If you look on the internet, there's some great websites that will help you. Enough.org or internetsafety101.org or protectkids.com and cyberangels.org. Those are all great sites that'll help you learn a little bit more about the internet so you have that tool. But we as parents have to catch up. The government, when the internet first started, didn't realize how huge it was going to get. The regulations and everything are still playing catch up. So there's a lot of stuff and a lot of content out there that you have to be on top of. You have to be the one doing this as a parent. You have to be sitting there and get more knowledge. You have to know what the code words are on